What is up, y'all? It's your boy King Kartel back again once again. Just wanted to make a quick video regarding Separate Ways, as we have just officially beat it, and I wanted to give a quick take as far as my thoughts on the DLC, what I feel it means in regards to where the series is going next in terms of remakes and things of that nature. So if you enjoy more content like this, be sure to leave a like. If you're new, hit the subscribe, and welcome to the game. Now, Capcom has recently been on a really good streak with Resident Evil in recent years, releasing one banger after another. But if there was one weakness that I could define, I would say it's probably the DLC. Granted, games like RE7 and RE Village got some fun story add-ons, but for the most part, they were pretty lightweight in terms of what they mean to the series as a whole. Meanwhile, some games like RE3 Remake didn't get any DLC at all. So with that being said, in my personal opinion, I think Capcom may have changed their ways with Separate Ways DLC. It wasn't included with the initial release of RE4 Remake, and to be honest, for me, I expected it to be there on launch. So the fact that it wasn't there kind of gave me confirmation that, okay, they're going to release this as DLC. I love the fact that it was released at $10 USD. I think that's the perfect price point for this DLC. You get 4 or 5 hours of about additional story, gameplay, things of that nature. And then, of course, you get the free Mercenaries update, which who don't like free stuff, right? But when it wasn't included, that built a lot of anticipation for the add-on, more than any RE DLC that I can remember in recent memory. So did Capcom live up to the expectations? Should Ada have stayed in the shadows? Is it time to head back to the village? You know what I mean? So let's get into it. Mind you, all this is opinion. I'm going to include facts and things of that nature, but really this is just my opinion, so don't be too mad at me. All right, RE4 Separate Ways takes place concurrently with the events of the main campaign, meaning Ada is going to team up with Louise to retrieve the Amber, as directed by Wesker, who we also see more of within this DLC. And the Amber contains a Plagas parasite, which subtly Ada is going to help Leon from afar. The specific details of the Separate Ways story have changed significantly this time around. Ada now has our own Nemesis style stalker, Wesker being more directly involved in the events, etc. But the overall gist of Separate Ways remain the same. Don't expect a particularly deep dive into Ada's personality, Ada's motivations, Ada's backstory, but what you do get is fun to see during the events of RE4. Gameplay wise, Separate Ways obviously building the same engine as RE4 Remake, and it shares a lot of the same strengths, weaknesses, etc. Once again, the controls feel a little bit clunky, although you get used to them soon enough. Playing with a controller, at least, I don't know what it's like keyboard and mouse. I heard it's very fun playing keyboard and mouse, but particularly if you've already beat RE4 Remake, the base game, you won't have any problems picking up a controller and getting into the DLC. Ada herself largely plays the same way Leon does. Really the big addition to her being the grappling gun. Ada can not only boost up various contextual grapple points, but she can now even use her grapple hook as a sort of gun in battle. She can use it for offense, she can use it for defense, she can use it for evasive maneuvers, melee attacks, steal enemy shields, so on and so forth. The grapple gun, while a relatively simple addition, did just enough to make Ada feel like her own character, which I really appreciated. On the presentation front, like RE4 Remake, Separate Ways is technically impressive, graphically amazing, could be seen as a mixed bag artistically, as you're more or less seeing the same things that you saw during the base game, minus some additions in terms of some of the hallucinogenic elements that they've added to the game. But I really enjoyed that. Let's address the elephant in the room. Ada's voice acting, in my personal opinion, is great for Ada. Now, I do know of some mods that allow you to take older actresses for Ada Wong and kind of inject them into the game with very good results. I'm not really bothered by her voice. I think her voice suits her in terms of where she's at in her life and her career at this point in time. Her voice is cold. Her voice is emotionalist. Her voice is calculated. Everything that I would see Ada as at this point in her life, I think her voice accurately represents them. I think people need to get over the whole voice acting thing. I've been playing Resident Evil since Resident Evil 2 released on PS2 way back in the day. And for me, Resident Evil is not Shakespeare. And I've never looked at it that way. So Ada's dialogue to me is not going to affect the overall quality of the game for me personally. I know others might disagree, and you can disagree. Let me know how you feel in the comments. But me personally, that's how I feel. In terms of level of design, there are some brief original sequences, as I briefly touched on earlier, but Separate Ways largely repurposes maps from the base game, as you would expect. Sometimes it works very well, other times maybe not as much. While playing through Separate Ways, you'll get very used to encountering blocked off doors and side paths, as Capcom creates more linear paths through stages that originally allow for more open-ended gameplay. That said, there are a bunch of fun twists. There's a fight against El Gigante in the village farm area, which sees the player zipping from rooftop to rooftop and entire barns just being destroyed by El Gigante. I really enjoyed that fight. I thought it was super fun. Ultimately, perhaps the most striking thing about Separate Ways for me is how much it diverges from the original. One of my criticisms of RE4 Remake is that while it captured the feel of the original game, it didn't reinvent or elevate its big moments often enough for me. That isn't the case with Separate Ways at all. In my personal opinion, it seems that Capcom felt more free to experiment, and it served up plenty of completely new sequences, new challenges, new enemies. And also, if you're still wondering about the small number of moments missing from the RE4 Remake, do not worry. Pretty much all of them are there. The gondola ride, the laser beam haul, the stalker enemy I mentioned earlier. It does culminate in a new version of RE4 Remake, only major cut boss fight. So you get everything that you're looking for there. Capcom packed a lot into this DLC, which at 4, 5, 6 hours runs longer than some full standalone RE games. And maybe that explains Ada's line delivery, because now she has the time to be out of breath with everything on her plate. Ada did a lot in this DLC, and I loved it. For me personally, Separate Ways DLC is Capcom's best DLC to date. There are moments in Separate Ways that just hit as hard as anything in a main RE timeline remake game, largely due to the element of surprise, largely due to the fact that there's all these unexpected things that surprise you, and the way they kind of turn, certain mechanics from the original DLC and kind of made it new and made it fresh in their own way. I really enjoyed that. I didn't always know what Capcom was going to throw at me, and that's what made this great for me. And again, only at $10, Separate Ways is fantastic value, and this Ada add-on is not to be missed at all.